So I'm sure when we all started out on our iRacing journeys, safety rating was the one thing we were staring at. We were always trying to get to the next license level to start driving more difficult cars, more challenging cars. You know, we all started off in rookies, wanted to get out of the Mazdas as quick as possible, and it's something that a lot of people don't really understand the intricacy of. So I thought, why not make a video and explain how to maximize your safety rating in 2026. The first point that we have is, how is safety rating calculated? It is calculated by using a system called CPI, or corners per incident. Essentially, corners per incident is just a rolling average of your last few thousand corners, so it's estimated to be somewhere around 2,600 corners, or your last 10 to 15 races. After each official session, your new corners and incidents are added to your history, and the oldest ones are then removed. If you drive more corners between incidents, your CPI increases, and therefore your safety rating rises as well. Now, point number 2 is the incident point values. Now, of course, the incidents are weighted by severity, so you get a 0x for light contact with an object like a wall on a street circuit or an oval, or of course with another car. You get a 1x for going off track, which we all know, the dreaded 1x on a qualifying lap. It's what we're all trying to avoid. You have a 2x for losing control, so spinning for example, or also with light contact with a wall. Then lastly, of course, we have the 4x's, which we all know and love. Heavy contact with another car, and of course, as I mentioned before, iRacing's safety rating system, or their incident point system, it's a blameless system. So whether you're at fault for getting crashed into, you're going to get a 4x regardless. So the next point is point number 3, and that is, how does CPI actually impact the safety rating? So now that we understand what corners per incident is, it's basically just a rolling average, as I mentioned before, about your last few thousand corners and how many incidents you accumulated over that time. The CPI becomes more difficult and harsher the higher the license class that you get to. So as you advance up through rookies and D class all the way up to A license, the required CPI maintain a 4.00 plus safety rating becomes stricter. So as you can see on this graph here, to maintain a D license 4.00 is around 33.8 corners per incident. Whereas if you want to achieve an A license 4.00, it increases up to 114 corners per incident. Now also note the drastic step up from A to Pro. This is something that I discussed in an earlier video about iRacing's secret licenses and why you don't see many pro drivers doing a whole lot of races, and this is partially why. So what is the impact on safety rating from a CPI perspective? Well, the higher CPI means a higher safety rating. So from 0.00 all the way up to 4.99, the more corners you can achieve without getting an incident point, then the higher your safety rating will go. So the higher the CPI, the better. iRacing also have a safety rating threshold. So if your safety rating crosses a whole number, so say for example you go from 2.98 to 3.01, iRacing will award you with a 0.40 bonus to your safety rating. So again, if you were to go from 2.98 to 3.01, that would actually be 3.41 that you go to, because you get that 0.4 bonus as you cross over a whole number. Now conversely, that also works if you drop below a whole number. So if you're at 3.1, you would actually drop to 2.5 because of that 0.4 bonus that gets added on. So it works both ways. So if you're trying to get up your safety rating and you're close to a high number, it is definitely worth taking a little bit less risk in that race, as you're due to get a huge bonus. Even if you're at 2.99, you only need that 0.01 to get that 0.4 bonus on top of it. So that is a really key point to try and maximize. Point number 4 is, how do different sessions actually affect your safety rating? Now this is one that not a lot of people actually know, and you can see obviously we've got time trial, lone practice, open practice, lone qualifying, all the way down to the race. Now in an iRacing official session, you sign up to a race, of course you have an open practice which lasts a total of 3 minutes, then you've got your 8 minutes lone qualifying, and then your race. So each different session type within iRacing does have different multipliers, as you can see here. So when you join a race in that 3-minute practice, don't go out there and start messing around, you know, just crashing the car, driving off track, spinning or whatever, because you think it doesn't apply to your safety rating. It absolutely does. If you were to join an open practice, each 1 incident point that you get counts as half an incident, so it's a 0.5 multiplier. In the lone qualifying, it counts as 0.35, and then of course in the race it is a 1.0 multiplier, so 1 off track is 1 incident point, a loss of control is 2 incident points, so 4x is 4 incident points. Now that we fully understand how safety rating works through the corners per incident, the incident point values, how CPI actually affects the safety rating, and of course the different multipliers within iRacing sessions, how do we actually maximise it? Well, the first bit of advice I have is to pick your series carefully. Now, the safety rating calculation favours longer races as you're going to cover more corners, obviously. So if you're going to do a 3-hour endurance race or a 4-hour endurance race and it has a 17 incident limit, your CPI will be far higher than a 20-minute P-Cup race, which also has 17 incident point limit. Another point as well is just avoid unnecessary risks. If your main goal in a race is to gain safety rating, then don't go bombing up the inside of someone or trying to go too wide through the chicanes at Monza or anything. Just don't put yourself in difficult and awkward situations. If you're new to iRacing and you're just trying to work your way up through the safety rating class like all of us have done in the past and try and get yourself up to an A license, the best advice I can get is just ignore the I rating completely. Get yourself up to that A license, learn how to negotiate a full race safely without getting crashed into or crashing into people or picking up 10, 12 incidents a race. Just focus on getting through a race with less than 4 incidents every single race, and you will see yourself climb up through the safety rating progression quite quickly. Setting the foundation there of working your way up through the license classes and managing a race properly, that will then benefit you with the I rating gains as well. So, you know, the avoiding unnecessary risks. To gain safety rating, that will also work when it comes to farming I rating as well. Another really good point that I had to learn when I was coming up through the license classes, and even at a pro level, this is something that applies to anyone regardless of what level you're at, is learning to read your opponents. How's the driver in front or behind driving? Are you noticing that they're constantly having snaps of oversteer, or they're sliding wide off the racing line? Do they have a high ping? These are all things that you need to take into account. Another big one that I had to learn the hard way, and something that I'm very grateful for by coming through the pro qualification series where you race the same guys every week, was have you seen them take several big risks earlier in that race or even earlier in the week? If you've raced those guys in previous weeks, try and remember the names of the guys who tend to be wrecking balls. If that guy's behind you, then you know you probably don't want him behind you for long. So if you can't pull away and drop him out of slipstream, then it's probably in your best interest to let them go, because you know they're going to crash again anyway at some point in the future. So with all these factors taken into account, your end result should be you gaining safety rating at a pretty good rate. But this isn't just something that is relevant to safety rating, this is just across your racing in general. Whether you're here to gain safety rating or you just want to hop on after work and have a good couple races, these are all points that you should just take into account, because it's going to greatly increase your enjoyment, because you're going to be finishing races, you're going to be finishing higher up. So these are all things that, yeah, I cannot preach enough to all of you out there. If you are coming up through the sim, or you just want to get a little bit more out yourself or a bit more out your sim racing, these are all points that you need to write down, memorize, and just get that locked into your routine when you're out there on track. With that is all there is to be said about safety rating. If you've got any questions down below, or if you think that there's anything that I've missed out, then please feel free to drop it below and I can answer that. But with that, guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.